Yeah, thank you very
Bossy, don't be. Oh,
People trying to get the speed bump in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I thought all they had to do was send a letter to the street department saying we request they put the speed bump things down, and then they decide whether the homeowner association pay for it or the city will pay for it.
I like that idea about the street naming, because that gets it all out there so everybody knows. I'm not so
One
sure.
problem I have with both of those, though, one problem I have with both of those is it charges a big fee.
What's the speed bump for, to bring the counters out there and all that? Well, that's why I'm saying if it's $250 to cover the cost of putting strips down and all that, that's understandable, I guess. But still, I think that seems an impressive. Better than
What's going on?
Good evening, everyone. Looks like we have a full house tonight. So we proceed each council meeting with a word of prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please feel free to join us. Father in heaven, we thank you for your goodness to us and your mercy. And we thank you that you are the Lord God, the Creator. Father, we pray for our decisions tonight, that they would bring honor and glory to you. We pray that you would bless this city and this great nation and this state. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. We'll now call this meeting to order. Mr. Garrett, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Mr. Pruitt? Here. Miss Mel? Here. Mr. Ledbetter?
Here.
Miss Smith?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Here. Miss Isby?
Here.
All righty. You should have received copies of the December 12th, 2017 council minutes. Any corrections or changes?
Make a motion for approval as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Could I move to suspend the rules to move item C1 to the top of the agenda, since that's, should be fairly quick?
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to remove item C1 to the front of the meeting tonight. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Basically, on December 8th, the city requested quotes from the local banks. It was time to renew our banking services. We received 3 proposals. Tyler Winningham, CFO, and Ms. Jamie Bryce and myself reviewed those proposals. And based on the interest rate and the willingness of Centennial Bank to continue the services at no charge to the city, I would make that recommendation to go with them again.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for banking services. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That would be resolution R1801.
Oh, it is 01. It is. Wow.
All right, next we have a report of our standing committees, starting with community development. Mr. Hawkins, this is your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item on this portion of the agenda is a resolution adopting the organizational rules and procedures for the City Council of the City of Conway for fiscal year 2018. We have been using Robert's Rules of Order since I've been a member of this board, I think, and it's been a long time for this white-haired fellow. We have a resolution to adopt this. It's Resolution R1802.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve nominations for various boards and commissions. We have two of those boards and commissions tonight. First is the Central Business Improvement District Number 1, and the nominees for that board are Greg Nabholz and Steve McGee, both for 6-year terms, and the Advertising and Promotions Commission, Jeremy Gardner, for a 4-year term that will expire in May of 2021. And I move that we accept those nominations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve these nominations as submitted. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance approving the private club permit for Jim's Razorback Pizza at 815 Hogan Lane. And I don't have any information regarding the Planning Commission on this. We have an ordinance to read. It's ordinance,
See it, do they?
I don't think
okay,
they-
it's ordinance 01801.
Make a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 8-0.
I'm going to make a motion for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
I'm still not used to that coming to us, and so I apologize for that.
Mr. Hawkins, I do. I have received all their application information.
Good.
But they're waiting for this ordinance so they can apply with ABC at the state.
Thank you very much. This is a new set of rules that went into effect, I believe, last year.
It is, the legislature passed it
Yeah,
down to us.
latter portion of last year. The next item on this portion of the agenda is a resolution requesting Faulkner County Tax Collector place liens on property as a result of incurred expenses by the city. The piece of property in question this evening is at 2145 Remington Road. Is there an owner or representative of an owner of 2145 Remington Road in Conway with us this evening that would like to address this? Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone coming forward, so we have a resolution to read for this item. It's Resolution R1803.
Make a motion for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution for a lien on property located at 2145 Remington Road in the amount of $316.08. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve the transportation services agreement with Independent Living Services, Faulkner County Council on the Aging, and the Boys and Girls Club of Faulkner County. These three items budgeted $78,000 for the Boys and Girls Club of Faulkner County, $69,000 for Faulkner County Council of Aging, and Independent Living Services received $30,000 on that. I'll make a motion that we approve these services agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve these agreements. Any further discussion?
Is that about the same as they were last year?
It is.
the
It's same. Do we have anyone here tonight from these organizations?
Nancy Rowlands
Okay, I would,
and Robert.
listen, thank you guys for the service you provide to the city. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
passes 8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve the bid for annual materials and services for the Street and Engineering Department. And Mr. Benson, are you here? There you are. Would you like to come forward, or would you like Ms. Bryce to do the duties on this one?
I'll provide support.
You've learned from the mayor. That's what he used to do when he was fire chief. Hi, Ms. Bryce.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you all?
Good.
We took bids on regular items for the street department, and I'm requesting that we accept the lowest bids on each item.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this bid. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve the bid for concrete planters for the 6th Street overpass for the Street and Engineering Department. And Jamie, one more time.
Yes, we, actually, this was kind of exciting for me because this saved us $20,000. Our estimate on this started out at $40,000, and the bid came in almost 20 or around 20. We received 2 bids, and I'm requesting that we accept the lowest bid on this.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this bid. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
passes 8-0. I can tell you that folks who are bidding on or wanting to do work with the city, Jamie holds her feet to the fire. She's doing a good job.
Good.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance appropriating funds for the Parkway parking lot improvements for the Street and Engineering Department. And Finley, would you like to talk about this? Mr. Benson.
Yes, sir. This is just the parking lot right next door. We built this. It was not in the budget, and we agreed to build it because the Central Business Improvement District was donating funds to help. And so this is replenishing the fund so that we're not negative for the year in that fund.
Very good.
How far up did we come with our drainage on that, Finley?
To the
Oh,
corner of Chuck's
outside.
office.
Corner of Chuck's office?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
good. It's a good start.
Just right out there.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we waive the 3 readings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8-0.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
This will be ordinance O-1802. Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is ordinance establishing a neighborhood traffic calming program to minimize the impact of traffic in residential neighborhoods. And Finley, would you like to talk to us about that as well?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
I've been working on this for quite some time. The policy that we have in place right now is just that, it's just a policy. And I believe it was adopted by this council before I was an employee. And we've looked for it, and we actually can't find any evidence that this council ever adopted that policy. There's remembrance that it was adopted, but we can't find it. The policy is not really being followed to its original intent, and in my opinion, it's overly complicated. So I am seeking to streamline the process by passing this ordinance. What this will do is the ordinance sets the policy, turns the policy into an ordinance, and streamlines it. If you flip forward 2 pages, initially these minimum requirements were part of the ordinance. Chuck suggested that I pull them out and make them not part of the ordinance because there's the possibility that they may need to change with time. So those are kind of the engineering guidelines. The ordinance itself establishes the law and the procedure.
Do we charge now for the initial contact to see about getting speed bumps put in a neighborhood or whatever?
We do not, but the number of requests is growing substantially.
Let's say that's 250.
250.
Seems a little steep to me for, for applying. What we base that on?
What, yeah.
Well, it takes us about a day's time to evaluate a neighborhood to determine if it's a viable candidate.
Is that putting the counters down as well?
Yes, ma'am. We have to put the counters down, collect the data, which takes a team of 2 men about half a day all told. And then I or somebody that I designate needs to evaluate the data. Like I said, the number of requests is growing substantially. And my opinion is that they need to have some skin in the game. The majority of applicants lately have asked if they can just go ahead and pay for it. The vast majority of applicants don't expect that it'll meet the requirement for city funding, and the vast majority don't. And they all almost all of them have come to the table saying, we're just going to pay for it. And that, to pay for it is 10 times that fee for just one location.
Finley, I think this fits for neighborhoods that collect like a homeowners association fee or things
Sure.
like that. But I'm thinking about the neighborhood that you and I were working with that doesn't really have a formal physical conclave.
Right.
And plus, that's one of our major streets, too. And so I guess I just don't see them coming up with $250. And so then I come back and think, it kind of is the city's responsibility to make sure that traffic flows appropriately and the right speed and all that. So I don't know about the $250.
It's just, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the mayor shared your concern, and we discussed 2 options. And the option that we have here is the most streamlined option especially for a neighborhood that's got say, a property owners association. We did discuss an option that removes the fee, and I will say that if the council prefers that route, it doesn't have to be in an ordinance then. It would only need to be a resolution. So you could pass the ordinance tonight with or without the fee, or we could wait, and I could bring you a resolution in a month's time. It would look almost the same. But it would need to be different. I would recommend against passing it without the fee tonight. The reason being, as I've said, the number of applicants we're getting seems to be increasing. And if we're going to remove the fee, then that allows any homeowner that thinks that there's a problem to submit and require my office to spend a day's time. So if we're going to remove the fee, then I would like to do is revise this to require the Property Owners Association, or as this calls it, the Traffic Calming Committee, to do more work on the front end to collect signatures. And what they'd have to do is actually get 2 rounds of signatures. They'd have to get 1 round of signatures just approving,
Just the problem, and the next round, too.
and then the next round would have to agree on the solution.
Altogether, that because a lot of street names need renaming, but, just to try to limit those that are just kind of off the cuff. It also requires a petition with signatures. 51% of those that are affected on the street have to participate and be part of the program. That's been a problem in the past, too, is like the planning department would typically send out notifications, but wasn't always 100% done, and checking on numbers, all that. So this, again, sets up a better procedure as far as having everybody on board with it or not on board with it. A drawing map, planning department will take care of those type things. Again, the notifications, letters have to be sent out, certified, not certified, but certificate of mailing, resolution set by the council, and finally an ordinance. But it mainly sets up a procedure to start and get it going, and collect a number of signatures so that everybody knows that everybody's on board with it or not on board with it, and gets in front of y'all as a resolution and finally as an ordinance.
Brian, I have a question. How does this fee, what is our current fee for conditional use?
That's the same number we
Same
use,
fee.
the conditional use, rezoning, building movings, annexation, I think we charge for annexation. So that's the same number we use for all of our planning items.
I make a motion to approve the new procedure of renaming streets.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the new process for naming streets. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0. Thank you, Brian.
Next item, Mr. Mayor. Next item is an ordinance rezoning property located at 385 Dennison Street. It currently is zoned R2. The requested zoning is for MF3. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting that was held on December 18th of 2017, and at that time, the commission voted 8-1 that this request be sent to City Council with a recommendation of approval. Commissioner Jerry Rye voted in opposition for this. We have an ordinance to read. It is ordinance number 01805.
Make a motion that we waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8-0.
Make a motion for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion, second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion?
I don't have any discussion. I guess I just have a question. This piece of property is right next to another piece of property that we've had come before us, I know at least once, and the issue has been drainage. Finley, where are you?
That's down here.
Oh, okay. This is right next to that piece of property that's come before us where there's been the issue of the drainage, particularly with 2 residents. What is your take on this? I know it's a little bit further down.
I think it's further north, isn't it?
Further north.
It is.
Over the,
Martin Street.
Yeah, I think that's going to be over the hill.
It is.
I don't have any concern.
Okay.
Yeah, it's north of the high point.
I'm going off memory here, so forgive me. In order to give you a solid answer, I'd need a day's time, but off the cuff, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It should drain.
Should drain the other
north
way.
and south.
I think you're right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Garrett?
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow religious activities in A1 zoning district for property at 1715, 1717, 1727 South Donaghy. This was brought forward to the Planning Commission at their meeting on December 18th of 2017, and at that time, the commission voted 7-2 that this request be forwarded to City Council with a recommendation of approval without conditions. Commissioners Justin Brown and Wendy Sherrar voted in opposition. I think there is some conversation that has gone on regarding this piece of property. Mr. City Attorney, would that be correct, or should we turn this over to them?
Proceed with the meeting. I believe that Rick Harvey is going to speak on behalf of the Soul Food Mission.
Very good. So anyone that would like to speak on behalf of this, either in favor of or in opposition to, if you would give us your name, address, and your speech.
Mr. Harvey, just a minute. If you would like to speak in favor of this, the first person, we would like for you to speak 10 minutes. Anyone following in favor of, 2 minutes. Likewise, anyone who's opposed to this, first person 10 minutes, everyone after that 2 minutes. Mr. Harvey.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rick Harvey. My address is 168 Sunshine Farms Road, Bigelow, Arkansas. I'm the director of Soul Food Cafe Mission, and we wanted to do this conditional use permit to allow us to do what we're doing now and what we've done in the city for 16 years. We have met with the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, it was Leslie Hillmeyer that invited us over, actually made breakfast and coffee with her, and also she invited some other people, Alan Winkler, David Georgie, who's leader of the POA, as well as Jennifer, and I believe her last name is High. I'm not positive on the last name. And we actually had a really good discussion, and I felt really good about it. They addressed some of their concerns, and so I know that the Planning and Development Committee had said to pass this without condition, but we would be willing to offer some conditions just as a olive branch piece move to the neighborhood, because we want to work together. We want to be good neighbors. And so here are the 5 conditions that I'm suggesting here. Our hours of operation be between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. No overnight stays, and by individuals seeking the assistance of the ministry. Soul Food Cafe Mission will not use the property as a homeless shelter as part of its use under the religious activity. Soul Food Cafe Mission would not use Violet Street to access the property. Donaghy Avenue will be the only means of ingress and egress. The conditional use granted exclusively for Soul Food Cafe Mission. And then lastly, the Soul Food Cafe Mission is currently working to erect an 8-foot fence on the northern side of the property. One of the reasons why I have a cold right now, because we've been working in very frigid conditions, and we'll be working on it again in the morning at 8 o'clock, and we'll get that finished. I would also like to maybe expedite things on our side anyway, and all the people that would like to speak for 2 minutes, instead of doing that, just let everybody that's supportive of Soul Food Cafe Mission just to raise their hand so that the city council could see that, instead of having anybody come up here and speak for 2 minutes. Is that okay to do that?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Everyone that is for Soul Food Cafe Mission and would support us, would you just raise your hand? Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate that, and I'm done.
I'm glad y'all got to sit down and visit, Rick.
Yeah. We want good relationships.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone like to speak against? I'm sorry, speak for. I'm sorry, we're still at 4. I thought the hand raising covered that.
Good evening,
I
Mayor
thought-
and council members. My name is David Georgie. I'm president of Spring Valley Property Owners Association. As Rick has alluded to, we had an excellent meeting this past week. We urge the city to adopt and approve unanimously, and we welcome Rick and Mrs. to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this has been a great lesson to a lot of folks, that when opposing sides just finally sit down at the table and visit, you can accomplish much. So thank you, both groups. It's very much appreciated.
I make a motion that we pass this conditional use with the 5 conditions listed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass the request, conditional use permit with these 5 conditions. Any further discussion?
I have just a couple questions for Rick. Is the sprinkler system and all that to code and all that with fire department?
It is.
And the parking lot and so forth, everything is kosher on that?
Yeah, I talked to the fire chief Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the parking lot's up to
Yes.
speed on everything on it? Okay.
What are you talking about, for emergency apparatus?
No, I'm talking about just for, cars.
Yeah, it was,
To operate.
the question was, would it support fire apparatus? And they hired an engineer to come in and do that, and fire chief said that, yes, it had passed
About
that.
parking in general.
Yeah, it should cover that, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Garrett?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0.
Mr. Mayor, we still have 4 minutes remaining on the first 10-minute speech.
Well, I'm going to take that time to run out. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a conditional use.
Mr. Tyler, what do y'all say? What's up, Luke? Well, there's still 5 minutes and 30 seconds on their time left if you'd like to. If you'd like to go up and talk against it or for it. Okay. I know. That's exactly right. We can, yeah, we can while we're
I
waiting.
just see Kim every now and then.
Let me have it.
He did recently.
Because that was one of the.
Or it's a government printer thing.
Things- that's what I-
I was wondering if that's what it was.
It scares me too. My wife did this and she started traveling. See, it hooks her one too.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. Yes. I never guessed. I'd have never guessed, man.
Just jinxed it now. Something-
Go home, go to bed.
Yeah. Get some sleep. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Turn us on.
Yeah.
Next to better sometimes.
Windows space and
I said, I guess Centennial can incorporate those rates. One thing regular checking bill. Once we were talking about that with A&T. We need to ask that question.
What's that?
We have some extras or you?
I'll give these to everybody up here if y'all want. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. If you need.
Well, but these are single story. And I don't know. They claim that the question keep the drainage.
So,
What you got?
let's see them what do these people, are they all aware of what the drawing looks like?
No, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
We've not got anything
I
other
know.
than the block of land that's been released.
Y'all are good?
As far as what it is. All told Kenzie.
I knew that when I knew when you came up with her and stayed behind the bar.
Come see. I need some girls.
I knew a smart man when I saw it.
No, I didn't get one about that. Are you Leslie?
I hope that worked.
Nice to meet you.
I
I
hope that
kept
worked
looking out
out.
there. I don't know which one Leslie is.
Okay, everybody ready to start back?
Mark. I mean,
We do
obviously,
too. We do
bringing
too.
everybody to the table has
We'll
helped.
have an eye on them. We'll have an eye on the situation.
Yes, well, thank you. We do appreciate your efforts. No doubt. Nice meeting you. Bye.
Yeah. But I'm thinking.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that.
Okay, Mr. Hawkins.
Let's see, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to regroup here.
We're on number 15.
15 is where we are.
Okay.
Shoot, that's the last one I've got. Consideration to approve, next item on the agenda is consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow up to 12 dwelling units per acre in R2, that's low-density residential, for a zoning district for property at 1405 Seben Morgan Road. This is, or was looked at by the Planning Commission December 18th of 2017. And at that time, the commission voted unanimously to forward this to City Council with a recommendation of approval with some conditions. Number one, the development shall be generally developed as shown on the submitted site plan and elevation. Minor variations shall be allowed for technical reasons. However, the density and intent of the plan shall be followed. Number two, the development is limited to 60 residential units maximum. Number three, a reduced landscaping area is allowed on the north boundary of the property. Number four, exterior building materials, brick, shake style vinyl siding, and architectural roof shall be shown on submitted elevations. Number five, platting shall be required. Additional right-of-way, sidewalks, as required by the subdivision ordinance shall be dedicated and constructed. And number 6, a 6-foot wooden privacy fence is required along the entire north boundary of the property and along the north 162.5 feet of the west and east boundaries. And with those conditions, I move that we grant this conditional use permit.
Second.
Thank you. Now we can discuss. Do we have someone that would like to talk about this, for or against?
Sir,
Mr. Tyler?
The developer named Tyler Hershey is here with us, and y'all can ask him any questions.
We're just same ground rules as previous. Anyone that'd like to speak for this, you will give the first person 10 minutes, and anyone who wants to speak for it after you, 2 minutes. Likewise, anyone that wants to speak against, the first person 10 minutes, everyone after that 2 minutes.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for listening to me. Yeah, like you said, my name's Tyler Turchie, and what we're asking for is property's currently zoned R2, which allows for duplexes. We think you can get about 20 duplexes on there, which is 40 rental units. So I don't think it's too much of an ask to bump it up to 60 units on the conditional use permit. And there would be 8 one-bedroom units and 52 two-bedroom units. And we would plan to lease these for $800 a month on the two-bedroom townhomes in the back and $600 on the one-bedroom units. We're trying to find this middle ground between like a 3-story stacked apartment complex and a house, and you can see that on the drawings. It's more of a one level in the front and then townhomes in the back, and we're just trying to meet that market where we feel like there's baby boomers. There's 40,000 people turning 65 every day, and a lot of them don't want to own a home. They just want to call somebody and have something taken care of. We feel like that those one level units in the front would touch that, and then just get some college students and also millennials who don't want to own a home or can't own a home. We also put all the parking on the inside of it, so you don't see it from the front, and then we've got covered parking in there as well. And last thing I'll say is we just think that you'd want to consider this because it allows you to have some say in the appearance of the property. If you got duplexes, you could, who knows, if they can meet the minimum requirements and it not look as nice as that does there. And then also, this will be one ownership. So rather than having 20 duplexes in there that can have a bunch of individual owners and not cared for in the same manner as a bunch of units there that are managed by one person, we just think that's an issue as well. And then you will also have more say over the drainage as we do our retention and all that type of stuff in the development process. So anyway, thanks for your time, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
I know they said the back of the property line rises a little bit. Will this all be one flat like?
It will.
From the front to the back? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tim, do y'all know what is the distance from the street, the north side of Seba Morgan, to the front of those 2-story apartments in the back?
Sure, I know what you're talking about. At the front of the street?
Yeah, from the north side of Seba Morgan to the front of the 2-story units.
North side of Seymour.
Yeah, straight back
To the front side
to the
of the
2-story.
2-story unit?
Yes. And pretty, isn't it?
It's about 6 or 7 inches, looks like.
About 8 inches, so it's 2 inches and 40 feet, so it's about, it's 40,
160?
80, about 120, 120 feet, I'm sorry,
Or more
about
than
9
that.
inches.
Okay.
About 9 inches, or the new right-of-way would be.
The right-of-way, not
The
the
new
actual
right-of-way.
street. Okay,
Not the existing right-of-way, but where the new right-of-way would
okay.
Any further questions, Mr. Turkey? Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this? Thank you.
I'm Dennis Gunner. I live on 1500 Trison Lane. My property adjoins the said property. I've lived there since '71, and the 5.2 acres I rezoned years back for my retirement, basically. It was agriculture in the beginning, and I said, well, maybe I'll get a little help in my retirement. So we did that, and I also had to rezone because we got into the city at the same time, I rezoned my 2.5 acres that I live on for my business. I'm in the heating and air business, and I had to rezone it to allow my business to be there. I was real excited when Mr. Tyler came up with this because we were looking at duplexes, and I've been in the air conditioning business all my adult life, just about, and I can see what duplexes can turn into, opposed to something that looks like this looks almost like condominiums. I was really excited about it, and I can understand the opposing and everything, 2 stories, but with his situation, he's got the owners parking on the north side, which that gives you a little more buffer of the 2-story apartments because the parking's in the back. And with duplexes, they can, we can put them anywhere you want to there, closer to the boundary line on the north side or wherever, and it'd be more of an eyesore than these apartments would be, I think. So, and like I say, I border the entire east border of this, and I'd really rather not have a fence. I'd rather look at the buildings than I had be boxed in with a fence myself. But if it has to be there, that's fine. That's about it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else?
Any questions for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this? Okay. Would anyone like to speak in opposition?
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Morgan. I live at 1645 Trison Lane. And just thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of all the property owners in Nichols Place, McKenna Cove, and all of the houses that are directly behind and around Stephen Morgan. We all have a shared concern about the proposed development requested by the Alpha Holdings. We ask that you may listen and please take into deep consideration what we have to say. One of the concerns that we have is the dangerous and increase of traffic. One of the artifacts presented to the Conway City Planning Commission noted that with this conditional permit, up to 600 vehicle trips in a day would come out of that unit. Right now, the land is zoned for duplexes, which is still not ideal, but would only see around 400 vehicles a day. It is a big difference and a heavy burden that's put onto Stephen Morgan Road. When you drive down Stephen Morgan on any given day, especially a school day, you see exactly how many children walk to and from school. As a mom of 2 kids, aged 9 and 3, and a teacher, an elementary teacher, my heart worries every day about the extra and hazardous traffic that are added because of these apartments. My heart goes out to that, and I don't want an extra risk just because they look better. Currently, there are 3 public schools off of Stephen Morgan. There's Simon Intermediate, Theodore Jones, and Bob Courtway Middle School. There are several youth recreation facilities as well, and the Conway Human Development Center. All of these facilities use Stephen Morgan. By granting this permit, Alpha Holdings will be using so much of the unnecessary traffic and the congestion and all those possible risks that really do not need it. The welfare of the families around Stephen Morgan and all the families that use the above facilities are put at a higher risk of harm by this added traffic. Another concern that is held is one of safety. Safety of the people residing in the nearby and safety of the children attending these schools. A denser population in an area really affects that quality of life. Adding extra units like Alpha Holdings is requesting will not only hold the possibility to allow more noise, but could also possibly put the area at a higher risk of crime. No one ever knows what a person is capable of, but higher possibility with a higher population in a denser area increases that. Besides the safety of our homes, the proposed apartments are being put up right against the school's playground. As I said, I do teach, so I do see the teacher aspect of this as well. Yes, the cars are in the back, but that's also where the children's playground is. And to me, that doesn't seem like a safe fit. Furthermore, the proposed rezoning is unnecessary. The property is currently zoned R2, which is already denser than all the surrounding areas. To keep the area the same, we ask that it's the same or even reduce it. But please, please, please do not let them to go past with this and get this conditional permit. This allows 6 times the amount that units are allotted for and does not flow with the surrounding areas at all. I worry, like this was brought up years ago, I think it was in 2014, when apartments tried to come in the area before, that the lack of sidewalks, curbs, gutters will become a huge problem. Also, when the apartments were attempted a few years ago, there was a lot of agreed on discussion that it wasn't the norm to place something with a high density of apartment in a residential area. As homeowners, we worry about our home value as well. 2 of the local residents, Lisa and Will, who are here today, spoke with the realtor, Luke Goodman, who claimed that there are already 2 interested parties that wanted to build on this land, and that the conditional permit wouldn't be needed then. And he even gave them a mock-up of what would be used, so it'd actually be owned. The 2 people that have put in bids said that they would own it, all of it, and they wouldn't be breaking it apart. So I wonder why exactly we're trying to break it apart when we already have 2 potential buyers. So I can tell you as a homeowner myself, I'm a brand new homeowner. This is my first home. My husband and I would not have purchased our home if we knew that it was going to be broken up and put in apartments down the road. It would jeopardize my home value. Finally, I urge you to consider the beautiful makeup of our city. Conway is a beautiful, fun, and vibrant city. I grew up here. I went to Bob Courtway. I went to Conway High. I went to UCA. I did my undergrad there. I did my postgrad there. And I'm raising my family and my husband here. We are beyond happy to live in Conway, and I'm beyond proud to say I'm from Conway. And I want my children to be beyond proud to say where they are from and that they're from Conway. And I'd love to see the East in Conway brought up. I would love to be able to have my children say, I live on the east side of Conway, and it's beautiful too. And I don't think that these apartments will do that near our homes. I, along with my family and the rest of the community, beg you not to approve the conditional permit at 1405 Seaman Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, before you leave, I have
Yes.
one question follow-up. Good job, by the way. You mentioned in there 6 times units?
Yes.
Can you tell me your math on that?
It was on the proposed, do you guys have that somewhere? It was on the, actually the Alpha Holdings agenda from last time.
Because they could put 40 units in
They went
now,
ahead
and they could
changed it.
do,
Okay.
Because I think
60.
that's 40 versus 60, right?
That's 20.
Okay, all right,
So it's
okay,
20,
okay.
okay.
All right, I just want to be clear. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay. And do you guys want this at all, or are you guys good?
No, I'm
Okay.
good with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition? We're down to the 2-minute folks, guys, so.
I'm Lisa Davidson, 1555 Bill Lucy Drive. So these apartments will be my backyard, my view. And my grandchildren, I keep them every day. They're starting the 5th generation of memories and good times on that land. My family's been there my whole life. And I realize that it can't stay a field forever. But if you look at that, the back part where they're saying you don't have to have landscaping and this and that, that's what I'm looking at every day. My kids' playground is right back there by the property line, at my dad's house, under the trees. And we go out there every day when weather permits. They love to watch the big kids play on the playground at the school. I mean, it's home. We won't leave. And I ask y'all to put yourself in my backyard. Pretend it's yours, and you sit there every day. And just looking at the guidelines, your own guidelines, conditional use permit guidelines. Number 1, the proposed land use will be designated, located, and operated so that public health, safety, and welfare are protected. As Brooke said, this is going to increase, risk for those kids. That street, I don't see how they're getting away, how we're dealing with how it is right now. It's narrow back there. You would have to have a turning lane or these tenants are never going to get in and out. There's going to be people backed up in the roundabouts. I mean, there's so much traffic out there now. And if they can already sell it and put those duplexes, I'll take my chances with the duplex. I'll mow their yards if I have to. At least there would be some grass to mow. I mean, there's beautiful big oak trees and stuff out there. The ones on the property line, there's nothing that should make those go away. I mean, all this place is, okay, it might look pretty from the people driving by. I'll get to see something pretty. But it's all concrete. It's concrete and buildings. And on our side, it's their little roadway and little covered parking things and concrete. Just lots and lots of concrete. There'll be lots and lots of noise, people coming and going all the time, the light, the noise. I just don't see how it makes sense that when an area is totally surrounded by single homes, why put anything like that in there? It doesn't make sense.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Preston Grumbles, 1685 Rachel Drive in Nicole's Place. I'd just like to say to the council that 21 years in law enforcement, most of that at UCA, I know for a fact that when UCA in 2007 bought the apartments and started branching out, that as a police department, our crime rate doubled. And we seen it kept growing until we initiated an officer housing program. I know the demographics are different as far as what they're saying tenants will be, but as far as safety of the street that the others have expressed, Seymour Morgan is congested now when school is let out as it is, and to think of 400, 600 more people, it's just the safety factor, in my opinion, is not worth it.
Thank you, Mr. Grumbles.
Well, it's not 600 more people, because you can't put 600 people in.
600 more
It's like
trips.
10 people.
We're talking about vehicle trips.
Okay.
Yes,
Hi, my name's Amanda Messmer. I went to school with you, Chuck. I'm from Conway, grew up here. I live at 1450 Angeline Drive. That will be my backyard. I do not want apartments to go in there, especially two-story. I have a 2.5-year-old little girl, and my privacy fence will do nothing towards a two-story building or more. 2 to 3 story, as he was saying, more, just looking, I'd never be able to open my blinds ever again. And since my bedroom is right there on Stephen Morgan, I hear that traffic. So, and like others said, there is no turning lane there. There would be so much more traffic. And all those kids trying to walk across, when people have to wait in lines, in traffic, they have a tendency to want to speed through when there's finally a break, all those people waiting to turn into that complex. I think it will be dangerous to the children that are walking in those, to school there, and not to mention an eyesore, even though it's supposed to be pretty. Like I said, we'll never be able to open my blinds again because people will be looking directly into my house. So I would hope that you don't approve this.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bridget Wallace, and I live in Nicole Place too. My house is on the backside of Nicole Place on Jackson Drive, where 3-story apartments overlook my backyard. I'm a single mom with 2 9-year-old children that live in my home. Anytime they go outside, I have to pay attention to the fence and what might be overlooking into my neighborhood or into my yard. That's a big concern for me. In the time that I've been in Nicole Place, we have steadily seen a rise in crime. Mainly, we can name certain people from another apartment community that come over and harass our kids getting off the bus. They have had the police called on them. We've had packages stolen off of our front porch. I'm a single mom. I can't afford to live in West Conway. My sister, my brother-in-law, my mom and dad are all in West Conway, and I'd love to be in West Conway, but I'm not. I'm in East Conway. And I can't trust that what's going to move in to this $800 unit is going to be able to do what we do as homeowners and take care of our house and take care of the property around it. We all in Nicole Place, we all have a Facebook page together. We know our neighbors. We know our neighbors' kids. I know where my kids go every afternoon, and I've been to those people's houses. Bringing in this is not a good plan. And I'm speaking from experience as being a past apartment coordinator, leasing agent, and an office manager. And I can tell you the things that you see in this kind of housing, I did not know people were capable of some of the things they are. And I left apartments and business and went into nursing. And I get surprised still every day of what people are capable of. I do not believe that they're going to make the rules stringent enough to monitor the people that they're going to rent to. And just because they're not a felon when they move in doesn't mean they're not going to be a felon in 2 weeks.
We're out of time, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
I'm Bill for Aldenhoven. I live right behind it. I checked with your street department. They're not going to do anything about the open ditches there. It's not on the books. We're going to overlay from the turnaround there to Tyson. There is a turning lane right there. There is room for the developer and Dennis together to put curbs and gutter on that road with a turning lane. You know, it would be a little, I don't know if y'all chip in a little bit, but since they're doing it, they ought to get most of it. This guy likes it down there. But that's one of the main things that is the road itself. That lane has a turning lane, but we was down here at the Planning Commission's meeting, and Brian Quinn, he made a statement that traffic has nothing to do with this. And it's not just what he said, it's how he said it. I don't know if he had I don't know what he was thinking, but that don't seem like it's right. Just to boldly sit up there and say traffic has nothing to do with this. Traffic, I think, has everything to do with it. Traffic safety. Safety is part of the kids being around that school. And putting that right on the edge of a school, that's not, I don't think, very good planning. That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rialdo. We do realize that we have some traffic issues on Seymour Morgan.
You have what?
We know we have some traffic issues on Seymour Morgan. Hopefully, we're going to be able to partner with the state in 2021, because really, before we can really put time and effort and money into Seymour Morgan, we got to do something with the bridge. And we think there's a good possibility.
Y'all been trying to find that for years.
I know.
That goes back 7 or 8 years.
Well, that was before me, but hopefully we're going to be able to partner with the state on the bridge.
They have to do the overpass and then go all the way down.
Yeah, and they have it on their radar too, so we're headed that way.
But that'd be a great time to build this thing. It's right after y'all do that.
Hi, I'm Tracy Davidson. I live at 1555 Bill Lucy Drive, and my land joins that. Me and Lisa are husband and wife. And what I don't understand is, why do we need apartments in the middle of residential housing? Like, it's R1, and it's R1. They're building houses in front of our house, which is R1, and that's R2, which I don't see how it got zoned R2, but it should be R1. But I don't believe there, I oppose it anyway, but I don't think there should be any kind of apartments there because there's apartments at the end of the street and you can call down there and there's availability there. So we don't need any more apartments like that. We need people to move in and live around the area and build the area up more than what apartments is, because you know what apartments look like in a few years. When they first build them, they look really nice. Then in a few years later, they start downgrading. It's like you can go to Little Rock and you can see, what is Little Rock? Oops, sorry. It's mainly apartments. Anywhere you look, there's hardly any houses in Little Rock. And I like the hometown of Conway. I've lived here since '91. Me and my wife got married in 2003, and we bought the house where we're at right now from her dad, which I plan on retiring there just like Mr. Gunner does. And that's where I'm going to stay no matter what happens. I'm still going to stay there. But I just really do not want apartments behind my house. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
My name is William Schiestel. I live at 1310 Josie Ray Street in McKenna Cove subdivision. I emailed you all on Sunday night. I appreciate you all taking the time to read over my concerns. I have one that not a concern so much as an observation. You have 3 builders currently right now building single-family homes in this area. You have Robert Hebner, Scott Lucas, and Jacob Longing. These people are selling these single-family homes before they can even build them. And we are going to put up duplexes or multifamily housings in a single-family R1, A1 area when we are selling single-family homes before they can even be built. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will bring this back before the council.
Finley, could I ask you about, I'm curious about extending the turn lane that exists right now at that intersection.
Yes, ma'am.
Could it go down at least to the easternmost entrance to this development?
And as a tag-along, could you address maybe Mr. Frauenhoven's thought about the curb and gutter? I think it's probably part of that. so
Right,
all
right. Could that all be?
Could it fit? I mean, would it work?
Well, I think there's curb and gutter in front of this, unless I'm mistaken about where it is, Trison.
Yeah, I think you would have.
Into the school property on the west side.
So, yeah, and the developer would only be responsible for what's in front of.
I know, but there's no curb and gutter on this road at all from the start of this lane to the entrance.
And so the question I'm kind of asking Finley is we would have to take it from, what is it, Trison Lane?
Right. The
All the way
curb and
down.
gutter extends, I don't know, 150 feet or so beyond Trison Lane to the east and where the curb and gutter and it is, that section that's curb and gutter is 3 lanes. That's where the turn lane is. And from there on, it's 2-lane open ditch. So if it was widened, presumably it would be widened to 3 lanes and there would be a turning lane there.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And was there another question?
Well, just the curb and gutter aspect. Is there room to do that?
Yeah, there's
probably.
room.
I mean,
There's
there's open ditch, I imagine there wouldn't be.
Yes, sir.
Looking ahead with what the mayor said about partnering with the state, do you envision this particular road, the Sieben-Morgan stretch of it, being widened the length all the way to the interstate out to German?
I don't.
Okay.
Because everything else to the west has already got curb and gutter on it all the way to the state maintenance, all the way to state maintenance. And so it's widening a road that is open ditch is expensive because you got to put storm drainage pipe in the ground, but that's an improvement. Widening a road that's already got curb and gutters on it is a lot more expensive, and you're kind of throwing away some improvement already. So I wouldn't anticipate that we would do that. Does that make sense?
In what area?
You're just talking about from the bridge to this area,
From the
essentially.
bridge?
Right.
Well, I'm talking all the way.
Yeah. Essentially, it's already been improved, so I wouldn't anticipate that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. What's been approved?
Improved.
Just
The only thing I feel, there are so many apartments down East Drummond now, just a whole slew of them that I just don't warrant doing an apartment complex right there, plopped right there. I just think that people can go right around the corner, right down the road and find an apartment.
Well, I appreciate everything the folks in the area have said, but I think you know this, but let's don't lose sight that's already zoned R2. Now, in a perfect world, it would be single-family homes. I mean, I agree, and how it got R2 years ago, I don't know, but it is R2, and it's not going to R1. I mean, they're not going to request R1, so it's not going to R1. It's R2, which means up to 40. Yes, sir.
In just a minute.
Hold
on.
You know, 14 years ago, that was voted on. Voted on 6 to 8 to not have anything else. Voted to stay R1. The next month, we went down to the meeting like this. They didn't have it. They said it was something about something came up. So we were waiting for it to come up again at the time we thought it was. But we read in the paper they done it before that. And they did it like y'all did the other ones. Y'all just, everybody read it and they read it on. But if y'all will look at that, it was denied by the Planning Commission, 6 to 8.
Are you challenging the rezoning? Is that what I'm understanding you to say?
No, they rezoned it already, but we wasn't there to defend.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what. I see.
That's how it got to all.
I see what.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I see what you're
All right.
saying.
But David, I think,
Okay, now, thank you. So if this was R1, this would be really easy, probably an absolute no. But here's what we're looking at. You know, someone mentioned that they'd like to see some nice stuff on the east side of town. Well, this is nice stuff. I mean, somebody mentioned that apartments look bad in a few years. I mean, most duplexes don't look that hot in a few years. I mean, it's not going to be R1. That's the kicker. And so this is, it's probably a better long-term deal than duplexes.
they said they'd rather take duplexes.
Turning lane in there, it's virtually.
Well, we can work on a turning lane.
We can get a turning lane. We can get a turning
I would
lane.
think that would be done before the.
Well, it needs to be done now. We need a turning lane.
And it would be 400.
Okay, excuse me, everyone. I brought this back before the council.
Well, I've engaged them, so that's my fault. I apologize.
That's okay.
But, no, we can get a turning lane in there, I'm sure. Finley, is the turning lane doable as it is now?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's just a road improvement, just
Yeah.
like any other.
Yeah.
I guess I do have a problem too with the two-story buildings also.
They could build two-story duplexes.
Yeah.
Right now,
I mean, I
with
just-
no conditions, no.
And we can't say no.
That's the part that worries me, is that we can put conditions like the
And those
fences around the back and on the sides and some things that would protect.
Those townhouses are a good way away from the subdivision to the south.
Yeah.
I don't.
They are.
I totally get your concerns. It's just being R2, it's almost like pick the lesser of two evils, and in my opinion, the rezoning, it's a few more units, 60 versus 40, 600 trips versus 400, but it's going to be developed, and it won't be R1, and that's the problem.
Well, I remember I was opposed to when they put those apartments over here on Dave Ward Drive, close to Carlsfield Middle School, because of that, building the apartments so they could peer down on the kids out there playing. I voted against that then because it was too close to those schools. And I'm voting against it now because I might not can stop it from being built, but maybe we can limit the amount of apartments we have there.
I mean, has that been a problem over there? People peering down on kids?
We put that in there.
Put what in?
They didn't build a two-story back there, man.
Okay, I must be thinking something different then.
I didn't vote for that either.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion to approve this and a second.
Well, hold on, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Will there be windows on the two-story buildings on the east side?
On the second floor.
On the second floor, on the east side?
Probably have to be fire.
Man, fire.
Maybe
On
not.
the east side?
Not
The school side?
Maybe
The school
not.
side?
It doesn't look like it.
That would be.
Look at the two-bedroom.
Put them on the north side, I guess you could.
They're on the north
Second level.
and, north
It
and
doesn't
south.
look like it's on the north and south side.
Front elevation, we only have front elevations here.
No, we don't.
Because if you look at the floor plan, you can kind of tell how it would be oriented.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there are windows on the back side.
On the east side, that would be looking
School
toward the
side.
school.
Towards the school.
school
It doesn't
side.
look that way from the floor plans.
Could we make that a condition?
It is a conditional use permit, yeah.
On the back of each, but
On the east end,
Not on the north
But
side.
I don't think on the east side, I think it's on the smaller end is the way the windows look on here, and there's no window on the back walls.
Could you come up here so
Yeah.
she could point out what she's wanting to show you? It's a lot,
So like here's
Easier.
the second level of the two-bedroom townhouses, there's no windows here.
yeah, but so like, all right, let's go at it this way. This Stephen
So
Morgan
this is
school's right
the
here.
one we're talking about right here.
Right, and you go in the townhome from here,
right, yeah.
and so that's what I'm saying, is
There's
this
no
is the
windows on
back.
these sides. There's windows on these sides.
That's a window right here, isn't it?
That's right, that's the back.
Because it's going like this, like take this and put it right here.
Right, so,
Not change it.
and that's where the school is.
That's right.
So there's no windows here.
Well, no,
Oh, flip it around.
you gotta turn your plan like that.
Okay, but there's no windows here either.
No, I think like this is what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Like that,
see,
right? That's right.
Right, you go in the front of the unit right there, and then all the way to the
So
back.
this is on top of this.
That's
and
right.
it fits there. Okay.
Because you can't, you can put a window on the side on the outer units, but the ones that are together.
It has to have a back.
On the inside.
Okay, yeah, there's gotta be, okay, I see. I get it.
Shelley, are there windows on the east side?
Yes, it's just, yes, they have to, this is like stacked on top of and goes that way. In the neighborhood. Let me get the right drawing here. So it fits like this.
Cost is always, we're always
Mark?
trying to, I mean, if you tell me I can't have windows, like, it's
Right
not
there.
gonna, I mean, it would,
Goes like that.
it wouldn't be great for the tenant, but anyway, I don't know.
Well, but for safety purposes, you have to have a window on the second floor no matter what to get out, so.
Hey, Mark, means of egress is not a window, is it?
Right, this needs to be.
I'm not sure.
I just worry about what the alternative is if this isn't approved and that it could be worse.
How many second floor apartments are there? How many second floor apartments are there?
I think buildings
26.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I mean, but how many does that
These.
equal on top?
Oh.
How many different?
I think it's gonna be 26 west, but I don't know that for a fact.
How can we get to the 40? That's what I want to know.
60.
No, but that's 5, has 8, 8, 8, 8, and 8.
That's what I'm saying. Let's get to that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 9.
40 upstairs units?
99 for the
20, so 20.
800.
There's
20 looks like 20.
building 5, building 6, building 7, building 8, and building 9, which are all the back buildings, have a total of 8 units each. Okay, so 30, there's 30 upper. It's that, you understand, that they're townhomes, so that's one tenant that's got a bottom level and a top level.
Right.
Okay.
This one and this one didn't have.
Are the two bedrooms, are they the,
No.
the two bedrooms are the two-story units? Is that correct?
Oh, no, these outer ones right here are one-bedroom
Okay.
units. These middle ones, which are one level, are two-bedroom units.
But they're single story.
That's correct. And then these jump up to townhomes in the back, and they're two bedrooms.
So really 5 and 9 are the only two buildings that have windows facing east and west.
You know,
The other buildings in 6, 7, 8 face
Yeah.
north and south.
North, south, yeah.
That's right. You have 9 would have 8 windows that would look onto the school yard. And then four would be one level and there'd be a fence, so I don't know that you'd really be able to see that, would you?
No. What are,
So is there any way that buildings 5 and 9 could be one story, or just building 9? Yeah, because on the other side is the,
that would reduce you by 4 apartments, right?
it would take it down by 4 units.
Let's take it down 20.
I'm just really worried about what would be there if we don't have any control or conditions.
We'll require the one tree for every 30 feet around the perimeter. I mean, it'll take time from the groves. There'll be 2-inch caliper when they're installed, but there will be some trees.
Okay, that's a good point.
Put in as part of landscape all the time.
If it were duplexes or on the, all around.
It doesn't solve this story. The planning commission, one of the conditions was the fence at least halfway down the property, on either side, east and west. You still could look over it, but there's some measure of
On duplexes, you don't have to do that. If you go duplex.
Duplexes, I mean, no, there's no. This is going to get development review, which is going to look at drainage, which is going to look at on-site water detention, stuff like that, including all the landscaping, parking. Duplexes, go build duplexes, basically get it platted, go build them.
I mean, a guy could put a duplex in and not even have a fence between the school and the duplex.
Correct.
Right. I guess that's what I caution the neighbors to think about, that it's not going to be R1. And so what's in your best interest for the neighborhood?
never answered one about.
I was like, can I answer? All the people,
Sure.
all the kids that are walking up and down the added traffic.
But you realize.
But you're going to get
added traffic anyway.
duplexes no matter what.
Maybe not as soon, but you're going to get it.
With no fences, with no. Yeah, you'll have to build a fence. They won't.
Look over there and see some big, mature, beautiful trees.
There's no guarantee of that.
No.
The ones on the property line, they would just be in the fence.
No, the duplexes come in, they can cut them all down on that property.
There would be no need for them to, I'm saying. I'd rather take, we know what it is here. We know they're going down.
That big thicket of trees that's in the shape of an L.
That's not the property.
Not this property.
It starts right there.
Okay, but it starts there and goes south.
Yeah. One's having a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the request for a conditional use permit.
I do one question. Finley?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to stipulate any condition about road work they will perform outside of what they may need to do to get a turn lane in? Is there anything we need to add to put it in writing?
Well, if you could require them to widen the road in front of their development, that would be a half road improvement, but I don't know if you can do that or not.
I'd caution against that, and the reason why, not that it's not a good idea, but we have impact fees. The impact fees will have to be paid. Now, it's not going to be huge, I figure it's going to be $46,000, but that was the whole thing we went through over years and years. It's going to have to be platted, it's going to have to be subdivided. And when it's platted, that impact fee will become due when it's developed that. Because over the years, we flopped back and forth. You do a half road improvement. So we finally settled on a collector or above, you do impact fees. So impact fees will be collected. Ultimately, that goes into the coffers for the city to improve the road.
Yeah. Finley, thank you, Brian. That's a good point. Stephen Morgan is on the 2018 list of roads to improve. I guess overlay is the only thing planned at this point. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It's planned.
So we will get to the overlay in 2018, and so as part of that, would we be able to make sure we get a turning lane put in the proper places as part of that?
The overlay, there's not enough money in that, in the overlay to, we could delay, instead of doing the overlay, we could obviously improve the road. That's, 5 to 10.
I know that a turning lane is needed along most all of that road, if not all of that road. Is there a way to put some turning lanes at least in front of that property?
Well, I think what that would mean would be heading from the end of the current curb and gutter, could do an improvement for some distance, long enough, far enough east to as far as we wanted the turning lane, and then you could stop the improvement and continue thereon with an overlay.
Okay.
That's
I've even
feasible.
seen, though, it's probably not optimal, but I've seen places in town where it's mostly just striping. I mean, there's a pretty wide road, but it's 2 lanes, but then you stripe it where there's a turning lane, and then striping goes back to 2 lane. We couldn't even just put a small section of enough pavement to make a turning lane close to it?
We would have to widen the road in order to make room for a turning lane, and it could stay open ditch if we wanted it to. That's an option as well, a cheaper option.
Why don't you bring us some options to be able to put a turning lane in that area to at least service this? And, even that turn into, I guess if you're headed west, the turn into Nicole Place, I mean, you could use the turn lane there. So, bring us some options on that if you would at some point.
I mean, what I would add is that the school has a driveway off of Seba Morgan. I don't know how heavily it's used, but there's no turning lane there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it gets more than 200 cars a day, which is the additional number of cars that you're talking about for this facility on a road that gets about 7,000 to 8,000 cars a day. But I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Finley. Okay, council.
I think for me, if I can just make a comment, I definitely do understand that you guys know that it's definitely not going to stay what it is. And in a perfect world, it would be an R1, but it is an R2, so there is something that's going to go there. I think that maybe this development might look better than what could potentially come there, but my struggle is I'm not the person that has the house invested that's going to be backed up to it. I mean, I'm going to be in my subdivision, and I'm going to have things the way I have. So my struggle is voting to put something that in my heart I feel may be better, but the residents are saying that's not what they want. So I'm going to vote in opposition of it.
And I have one child at Simon. I've had one go through already. I'll have 3 more going through there. And as of now, my vote's a no, and mainly because of what Sheila said, because of the residents. However, I don't like to gamble with what the possibilities could be for where my kids are going to be. I know exactly what I'm going to get out of this. I know that how many apartments are going to be, who's going to be doing them. If we vote no and this does not pass tonight, we don't know. We don't have a clue what's going to go in there. It could be.
And we won't have any control.
And we will have zero control of what goes in there. So just know this, that we have no idea what's going to go in there. And I don't like gambling. I don't gamble. I don't go to casinos. I've never gambled in my life. And I hate doing it when my children are at stake as well. That's a personal piece on me. So I just want you guys to know and understand that this is a gamble. We know exactly what we're going to get out of this. And we even have room to talk to him and maybe discuss some different conditions, if at all possible. But if this does not go through tonight, then we have zero idea of what's going to happen. And I've heard several of you say that I'm okay with gambling. Okay. Well, you guys are the neighborhood. You guys are in my ward. I'm willing to listen. But you need to know that
There's no drainage control. There's no fencing. There's no additional landscaping. There's no conditions.
So, that is my 2 cents. for you guys.
Let's vote.
Call the question.
Yeah, let's vote.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve this conditional use permit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, let me have a show of hands for the ayes. And hands for the noes. Okay. Fails. Do I need to vote on this? Okay. Then this has been denied by a vote of 4-3.
5-3.
5-3.
5-3.
Okay, 5-3, my mistake.
Good luck.
Thank you all.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
You're welcome, sir.
Next up, we have the public service portion of our agenda, and our first item is consideration to approve the proposal for concessions, operations for the Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Ibbotson and Miss Bryce will be speaking.
It'll be all right.
I'm gonna have to learn to count.
Just don't take your shoes off.
That's what you got fingers for. Go to 10.
But I was trying not to do it. Mr. Ibbotson, are you gonna make Jamie come by herself?
I'm here for support, sir.
The girl in gray. That's just.
We received 3 requests for proposals for the concessions this year. A review team reviewed all those proposals. Several things were considered, one being the price of the concession stand items. And we feel like it was best to go with Taylor and ask for your approval on that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the proposal for the concession stand operations for the Parks and Recreation Department. Any further discussion?
We've done business with them before.
Yes, and they came highly recommended.
Good.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8-0. Thank you, Jamie. Drive careful.
Thank you.
Next up, we have an ordinance dedicating certain lands located in the Charleston Place subdivision for public use as a park. Mr. Ibbotson, are you going to speak to this?
Sir.
The park?
The certain lands located in the Charleston Place subdivision?
No opposition to it.
Okay.
Was not on my agenda.
Okay.
Has problems with.
Free land.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Couple acres.
there's really nothing to, this is good here.
I make a motion to waive the 3 readings.
All right, we have a motion and a second to waive 3 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 8-0.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Ordinance 06.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Okay, I get to call the roll. Ms. Mail,
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Ms. Isby,
Yes.
Mr. Grimes,
Did a great job, sir.
Mr. Jones,
Yes, you did a great
Mr.
job.
Pruitt.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. That is ordinance 0-1806. It passes 8-0. What do we even need, Gary? What do we need, Gary? Next up, we have a resolution accepting the proposal and approving, we've already done that. Okay, we've done that one. You know what? I'll take an ordinance to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Whatever. Hey, what he said, whatever. Well, how's everybody having a good New Year?
Hey, Andy.
We are.
I got a quick question.